Hi, my name is Haley Dang. I'm a rising senior at Kent Lake High School in Kent, Washington. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm here today with Character Strong in the city of Kent to interview some pretty amazing human beings about anxiety and mental wellness. So, Gael, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Gael. I'm the creator and one of the hosts of Teenage Therapy. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm glad to be here.
Right, awesome. Before we start, I just want to express how huge of a fan I am of Teenager Therapy. We were making like a dream list of possible candidates for these interviews, and like instantly I was like, oh my god, Teenager Therapy. Like
Oh
y'all have
my
got
God.
me. But yeah, I'm so excited to be here with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us, even in this like weird, foreign virtual environment we're in.
Yeah, I'm excited too. That makes it so much better. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And so I know talking about anxiety can be really tough. It's not necessarily a fun thing to talk about, but at the same time, I feel like it's really important to break that stigma and have that conversation to better understand each other. So I don't really want to jump in and stir the pot this quick. So I do have like a little icebreaker question for you,
Okay.
like make you think. So my question is, if you were invisible for a day, like you could do whatever you want without worrying about people watching, what would you do?
Oh man. I was invisible. Okay, so no one could see me. I I would okay, I don't know how this would work,
No,
but just go into like people's houses and
yeah,
see,
you could do that.
right? Okay, like I don't know if they would see the door open, but like theoretically, I would want to just go into like a rich person's house and just see how they live. That would be ideal.
That, yeah, that's actually really interesting. Like how the
Yeah.
Kardashians live and stuff. Like, how do you guys?
Yeah. If I could get to their house, I would definitely be exploring.
Oh no, for sure. Like, I would probably sneak myself into like a flight to like Tokyo or something.
You
Somewhere.
could do that. You could sneak into a flight. Yeah. I that's actually a lot better. I hadn't thought of that.
You're
Oh
totally.
man.
I would probably just stand like in the aisle like super awkwardly and like try not to like bump anyone because like they're probably gonna like crash me.
Yeah, there's a lot of limitations, a lot of things to consider.
But yeah, that's a good answer. I'm actually pretty curious about that too.
Mhm.
Um, so I guess my first question would be, do you ever get anxious before doing podcasts? And especially when you have guests on the show, what does your anxiety like look and feel for you?
Anxiety is interesting for me because I hear about it a lot. People saying I have anxiety and I get this anxiety and all that. And I tend to have a hard time trusting my own like feelings and such. So I'll doubt myself if what I'm feeling is anxiety and I'll be like, is this just like being nervous or is this anxiety?
Yeah,
So I wouldn't say I'm able to really say what my anxiety looks like because I don't even know if it's anxiety. Like I need someone to tell me this is what it feels like, and then I'll see, okay, am I feeling that? If the answer is yes, then I'll be like, okay, then that's my anxiety. But I'm not really sure on that yet. In terms of the podcast, I do get nervous when I know what we're going to talk about and I know it's not going to be like a fun conversation. I do start to get nervous sometimes, and like you could kind of see it because I'll tend to like stumble around the subject for a bit. So if I'm like confronting someone on our friendship or something, I will be nervous, and like the first 10 minutes would just be me like rambling about absolutely nothing of substance until I actually get to it. You'll also hear my voice shake a little bit. Whenever I get nervous, my voice starts to like shake, and I tend to start talking a little bit more quietly like this and really slow because then you can't really tell that my voice is shaking. So
gender.
that's one thing that I do see. Yeah, and then when it comes to guests, I don't get too nervous. I think the first time that we did a guest, I was nervous, but then after that, I just kind of got used to it. It was the same, unless it's a really, really like big guest, I don't really get nervous because I just see them as like just one more person to talk to, and like it's kind of like exciting and fun. So unless I like idolize them and I'm like in love with them, I don't really get nervous for that.
Okay. Yeah, and for sure, because like a lot of your guests are like our age, so it's easier to have those kind of conversations with them. Like I know you did one with like Ellie Zeiler or one of the Lopez brothers. Like they're kind of in our age range.
Yeah, so it's definitely a lot easier because of that.
Yeah. And so going back to like what you said about I don't really know if I get to say that I have anxiety, like I totally understand that. Like you don't want to like misdiagnose yourself and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I think we're all aware that being anxious is a human emotion we all do feel, but having anxiety can definitely elevate that reaction in our bodies and can start to head towards more like menacing territory. But yes, it's going to be very different for everyone. So I'm just curious as to how you feel about your own anxiety, but I know that you aren't really sure if you get to say that you do. But so let's think about it like this. So how would you describe your anxious feelings, I guess, as if it was a person standing in your room? So like, what would it say, or like emotions, vibes, or energy you would get from this person?
It would definitely be someone telling me that like everything's gonna fail and it's just all gonna be gone and done, and that's like it's over. That's when I do start to get anxious, especially thinking about the past more than the future, which is kind of interesting. Like whenever I think about the past, I get anxious because I think about everything that could have gone wrong, and I think about if I hadn't made this decision, this wouldn't have happened, and I could have been in a totally different place. My future literally depended on one decision I made. You know, like this podcast, it really all stemmed because I decided to go to the pool. If I hadn't decided to go to the pool, I don't know if I would have been here right now, and that gives me anxiety because, yeah, the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
It's so scary to me because you realize after you've lived that everything is so fragile and you never really know, and you have no actual control where each decision is going to lead you. So that's where I get a lot of a person. They would just be telling you like everything could have failed, you know, like you're one decision away from having everything fail.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that. I'm pretty sure like a lot of kids feel that way too. Like just having someone right here being like, dude, if you do this, you're gonna mess up, and it's just gonna be like slippery slope.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a pretty insightful answer. I'm sure it's really difficult for you to get Mark, Kayla, Thomas, and Isaac together to have those deeper conversations frequently. Specifically, I really liked the episode, The Realities of a Friendship, because I could tell that you guys were all like nervous and you guys wanted to confront each other, but not in a way that would like break your friendships. But I really admire how you guys were really transparent about that, and how I think Thomas like called you out a lot, but then you also expressed your side of the story, and then also just talking about like in terms of business with the podcast and how you feel like it's kind of overwhelming you and how you feel really bad to ask them for help. So if you can, like, tell us a story about how stress or anxiety has pushed you in a way, or pushed you to act in a way that wasn't really you, if you have one.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty good with stress and anxiety. I won't lie. I am pretty good with it. And for the most part, yeah, when I get stressed or when I get anxious, I'm not shaking, or I'm not thinking like, oh, I can't think right now. I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm like just too overwhelmed. I tend to have a pretty good grasp and stay pretty grounded when it comes to those intense emotions. Um, so I'm trying to think if there has ever really been. I think the only times is like there have been a few times where I've been really stressed or just very anxious about something, and I said things in a tone that was a little too harsh. And then, I realized after I said that, like, okay, that was like, I could have been nicer about it. And, instead of trying to justify my lashing out, you could say, by saying, I was just stressed, I was anxious, I just have to take better control of my emotions and just understand that my stress or my anxiety doesn't give me a right to talk down on others or act in ways that I wouldn't otherwise act.
Yeah, for sure. And I like how you guys all get together and have genuine, like, raw conversations that are truly like teenager voices. Like, I appreciate that it's not super duper formal and not scripted also. Like, everything you guys are saying, like, your listeners are probably thinking like the exact same thing. So
Yeah, I don't like formal. Oh my God, if I listen to a podcast, especially one that it's supposed to be like real talk or something, and there's a script that is a killer. It
Not even
sounds like
really
you're reading it so bad. Yeah, especially when they speak formally. Like, what is the point of trying to speak so formally? No one relates to that. It's so weird.
I just like having my like headphones in and just feeling like I'm like there like listening to you guys like talking. I'm like, oh, Tom.
Judging all of our points.
I'm like, okay,
That's a good point.
yeah. And so that's actually pretty cool to hear that you're pretty good with like stress and anxiety. If you do ever get to that like stressful point where you are starting to not lash out at people, but having a hard time controlling your emotions, what's something that keeps you grounded or hopeful in terms of dealing with that? And how are you doing this at home? Like, especially like this.
Yeah, okay. So I think hopeful in terms of releasing anxiety and stress, when I find myself getting like really stressed out or really anxious especially, both actually, I have to go exercise. I have to do some type of exercise and just kind of like release all that. That just helps me immensely. I will be like, whenever I get stressed or anxious, I tend to become very cynical about the world and very pessimistic. And I start just thinking like everything's going to fail. This is worthless. Why am I doing this? This is just like worth nothing. And when I catch myself doing that, like, okay, I really need to go run or go lift weights or something. Because then afterwards, I just get that rush of endorphins from it. And then I just feel so much better. And I'm like, okay, I feel relieved. I am good. I guess that's my version of what keeps me hopeful. Is just like two things: the exercise, and then the second thing is just, this is, how do I say this? It sounds really simple, and it is really simple, and people get kind of like turned off by the fact that it's so simple. But I just tell myself like, it'll be fine, it'll be okay. Like, I know I could do it. I start just giving myself positive affirmations, and that just helps me keep control of my thoughts and not give more energy to the bad thoughts, which would really just help me, like, it would just make it even worse. So that's what helps me. Yeah, manifest them.
Yeah. I actually listened to that one podcast or that episode where you guys talked about exercising. That was pretty interesting because I think it was when you guys first started. Some of you guys, I don't remember, you guys were first starting to exercise and you're like, yeah, like I would go to the gym with like my mom. Someone said something like that. But that's actually pretty interesting how you're like carrying that out and it helps you out.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I guess lastly, I guess you kind of almost answered this in that last question, but do you have any last words of advice for kids our age and your best tips for dealing with anxiety or stress?
I say you have to find a way to let it out in a healthy way. And that could be your own version. My version is exercise. If you enjoy painting, if you enjoy dancing, if you enjoy playing a relaxing game, if you go play Minecraft and that helps you with it, you need to like do that. And I think a lot of people just need to take some time to genuinely just think about what takes their mind off of things. Some people even like just making bread, and that helps you. Some people like washing dishes. It's all valid. That's one thing you could do. And the second thing is just to not give it more energy by feeding into the thoughts, and not keep thinking about the same things that are making you upset in order to make yourself even more upset, or even just taking that one bad thought and then just expanding on it, and then just for the next hour thinking about everything else that's wrong with your life. I think it's good to ask yourself questions that force you to think about something positive, because if you ask yourself, why am I so ugly, why am I so stupid, why am I so stressed, you'll start thinking about things that stress you out or things that make you feel stupid. But if you start asking yourself, what makes me feel good, what am I enjoying right now, what am I just like really happy about, you'll force your mind to think of those things, and just that alone will help you keep your mind off the bad things and towards the good. So it's very simple, and it does take practice. You won't master it the first time, but if you do, it does help you a lot.
Yeah, really insightful answer. I just feel like it's definitely, it takes a matter of discovering yourself and finding out what makes you feel good and just feel better. Exercise for you, there's endorphins, there's science behind it. Yeah, thank you for that. that's all that I have for today. Thank you so much for your time. It's really good to hear from someone like my age and who shares a lot of the same thoughts and feelings we do. If there's nothing else you'd like to add, I think that concludes our time today. And I feel so blessed that I got to even meet you, like in this weird, like virtual environment. Like I'm seriously such a huge fan. I'm like starstruck right now.
Oh my god, thanks, Haley. It must be weird, right? Like when you meet someone and they're actually in person. Because you know what I noticed? Like, oh my god, when I met like Prince Harry and Meghan, it was so weird because like I like knew about them because I always read about them or like listen to them or not like watch them on videos because they're so popular.
Yeah.
And then when you actually meet them, your mind goes through this weird thing when you think you know them, but you've never seen them, but they just seem so familiar but so strange.
It's just, this is really like surreal. Like you're like a real person, even though I'm like listening to you like in my headphones like all the time. That's on me. But, yeah.
I know, I'm always in your ears.
Yeah, like honestly, it's just like whoa.